92.7 FM WMDX, Madison's real news and great conversation. Here's your daily news roundup.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei-Olson. Madison's former city clerk is arguing in court that absentee voting is a privilege and not a right. This is all connected to those nearly 200 ballots that went uncounted in the November 2024 election. Those uncounted ballots led to a 6-month investigation by the Wisconsin Elections Commission, who said then Madison City Clerk Mary Beth Witzel-Bell broke the law in how the whole thing was handled. The commission was especially bothered by the fact that once the ballots were found, nobody took the initiative to rectify the issue until a month later. Now, some of those people whose ballots were not counted have filed a lawsuit against Witzel-Bell, Deputy Clerk Jim Verbick, and the City of Madison. Firm Law Forward argues the voters' constitutional rights were violated. Witzel-Bell's lawyers say it's a privilege to vote absentee, not a right, which is in line with Wisconsin law, according to VoteBeat. Their story says Witzel-Bell's lawyer called the fact that the ballots went uncounted unfortunate and said, quote, "It is the result of human error, not malice, and that human error was not a violation of the plaintiff's constitutional right to vote," end quote. Of course, this is a case we'll continue to follow. According to records, the next court date has not been scheduled yet. The state legislature is now enforcing rules banning recording during committee meetings. Wisconsin shut down about a month ago now. That means the only way to watch proceedings in the legislature is to see a portion of it in the media or be there in person. WisPolitics reports witnessing a Republican leader telling a staff member for Democrat Melissa Ratcliffe that she couldn't record her boss. As the legislature started work in the new year last week, there were other committee meetings where lawmakers said no one could record and even signs on doors. Some Democrats are concerned, saying there's not enough transparency. A spokesperson for Speaker Robin Vos said they're just reaffirming the long-established rules of the Assembly. Democrats have introduced a bill that would create a publicly funded alternative to WIS-I, basically making that transparency a function of government. But it would need Republican support to pass. Meanwhile, state lawmakers are considering allowing people to hunt sandhill cranes. Maddie Schaefer has more.
According to the Wisconsin Examiner, the proposal comes as agriculture workers say the birds are causing significant issues with crop loss, with about 200 producers reporting conflicts with the sandhill cranes each year contributing to over $1.5 million in losses. The birds are also not included in the state's Wildlife Damage Abatement and Claims Program, limiting the ability of those farmers to receive assistance or compensation for their lost crops. State Representative Paul Tittle is the vice chair of the Committee on Sporting Heritage and argued federal wildlife authorities said Wisconsin could consider a sandhill crane hunt when the population reached about 30,000. He also says there's an estimated over 112,000 sandhill cranes in the state now. Those speaking against the bill say research shows establishing a hunt will not solve the crop loss issue.
Wisconsin's pandemic-era childcare program ran out of funding over the summer, and in the state's biennial budget, a new program to bridge the gap sends support to providers and families. But some providers are not eligible. Melissa Kay reports.
State Senator Patrick Teston says he was surprised to learn that only childcare providers regulated by the state are eligible. That leaves some providers licensed by tribal nations unable to access that money.
What was brought to our attention and we were not aware of is that our tribal nations, they aren't able to qualify. And many of our tribal nations, including the Ho-Chunk, have their own child care centers, and they provide services not only for their own tribal members, but for others within the regions that they serve and operate in.
A bill at the state capitol would fix that, letting Native nations also qualify for the bridge support payments.
By opening the door and making a small minor tweak to current state statute on how this program is operated to open it up for tribal nations. We have 13 federally recognized tribal nations here in the state of Wisconsin. It's going to further open the door to allow and increase access to child care and hopefully help with the affordability of it.
9 Democrats and 6 Republicans, including Teston, have signed on in both chambers of the legislature.
If other child care providers are able to access these programs, our tribal nations should be as well. And so this should be a layup and a slam dunk, in my opinion.
I'm Melissa Kay.
Now, the Assembly version of this bill had a public hearing back in December, while the Senate version is still waiting in committee. And a Republican congressman representing Wisconsin has sided with Democrats over health insurance subsidies. 17 Republican reps joined Democrats last week to advance a 3-year extension on those subsidies. They're essentially discounts for people who buy their insurance on the marketplace, and those discounts are based on their income. About 277,000 Wisconsinites got those discounts, which have now expired. After initially voting no, Congressman Derek Van Orden has now voted yes. Van Orden told the New York Times he still blames the Affordable Care Act for the current healthcare system, but added he did not want to leave Americans in the lurch. Wisconsin Democrats called his vote election year theatrics. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson, 92.7 WMDX News.
Badgers basketball tonight. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with Sports NCAA. The Wisconsin Badgers on the road at Minnesota. The Gophers with a record of 10-6. The Badgers now 11-5 after that huge win over the weekend against number 2 ranked Michigan. NBA, the Bucks are at home. They're taking on the Timberwolves. NFL, the Packers players beginning their off season. Should Matt LaFleur be back as the head coach? I asked Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I believe so. I've had my fair share of coaches and people around this league that I've been around, and Matt's one of the best guys and people. Like, as a person, I've been around since I've been in this league. I reached out to him when I started seeing this, and I said, man, when I agreed to come here, like, you were part of the reason why I came here. I want you a part of this, and I love you. I think you're a great coach, and he appreciated those words, and we had a brief conversation. But Matt is, I think he's a great guy.
That's Packers defensive end Micah Parsons with Sports. I'm Mike Clemens.
Hi, meteorologist Brandon Bormans. Partly sunny and breezy today. A few sprinkles possible later in the day. High temperatures in the mid-40s. For tonight, mostly cloudy skies and breezy. Lows in the upper teens. Much colder on Wednesday with partial sunshine. Highs in the mid-20s.
That's your Madison News Roundup from WMDX. Find more news anytime at WMDXradio.com. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts.